plane crash where everyone died on the plane. I think it was in India. I actually don't remember. Where everyone on the plane died except for a small child, and they said that was miraculous. That this child surviving was an example of a miracle, and I found that to be very offensive because here are all these people who died, and God isn't credited with that. That's not a miracle.
Right.
Their deaths aren't a miracle.
Right.
And I just found it to be just patently offensive because when you look at Christianity, for example, the great reward is death. That's going on to heaven and ascending and spending an eternity with the Father and that sort of thing. But so that's what you would think Christians want.
Sure.
You think Christians want that. So if God saves someone, that's a tragedy because now they're being held back from ascending into the pearly gates.
Right.
And
if you guys have a divergent opinion on this, the number's up on the screen.
Yeah,
now,
give us a call. Give us a shout.
We're always interested in the topic, and we're especially interested because I know Christians personally who want to give over their agency to God. When something good happens, they say, well, it was God who provided it with me. When something bad happens, they say, God must have been having a plan for me. It must be a test or something. And I mean, that rings hollow to me because God's credited with everything good, but then he's also credited with everything bad. And although we probably don't have enough time to go into the problem of evil here, but that's been, I think, the one thing involved with God's agency in sort of the life and death struggles on this earth that makes the least logical sense to me whatsoever, which is how could he still be good if he can do something about all the suffering, all of the parents who die and orphan their children in a plane crash? If God can do something about that, why doesn't he?
Right.
I mean, or even not even just things where there might be an agent at play, like a human agent. Why doesn't he stop the birth defects? Terrible, horrible, debilitating diseases or earthquakes.
Yeah. Here's someone who's supposed to be infinitely merciful, and we have yet to see any example of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I definitely have some issues with that, and the whole I've yet to see someone credit the deaths of people as a miracle.
Right.
I've yet to see that. It's a miracle. God took all those people, and what a shame this poor kid survived.
That's terrible.
And they're just it doesn't work like that in Christian theology. So.
Well, and the strange part to me is it's often said when we're on the question of suffering, and especially in dying, or children dying at the very least, it's often said, oh, well, it's not all that bad, to comfort those of us that survive. It's not all that bad because then they'll get to be with Jesus forever. They'll get to be with God the Creator and experience joy. That begs the question to me, why don't all true believers commit suicide?
Yeah.
You have no real reason to not commit, for every Christian on this earth, to jump off a cliff. Because if this is the next 30, 40, 50, 70 years is going to be just mostly heartbreak and suffering and some good stuff, but it's backloaded on the end, why doesn't everyone kill themselves? Now that it's no longer a sin to commit suicide, now that it's no longer a mortal sin that keeps you in limbo forever to commit suicide, there seems to be no theological rationale for staying here.
Right. And we're not advocating the mass suicide of Christians. We're atheists, but I don't think we're advocating that per se. But
clearly Christians don't advocate that as well.
Right.
Obviously.
Right. We're just saying that the logic just doesn't hold up.
Right.
Anyway. So what else you got?
Yeah. So speaking of Catholic Church, this is a headline from the Independent of Ireland, and the title of the story is "New Vatican Campaign to Clamp Down on Liberal Opinion."
Okay.
Vatican investigators to Ireland appointed by Pope Benedict are to clamp down on liberal secular opinion in an intensive drive to reimpose traditional respect for clergy, according to informed sources. An emphasis. Oh, wait a minute. Looks like we got a call.
We have a call.
Amazing.
We have a call. Well, what do you think? You ready to?
We can finish on this. I think there's a larger question, so we can take Mary.
All right, let's take Mary from Tacoma. Hello, Mary. Mary, can you hear us?
Hello, Mary. Hey, Mary.
Yes.
Hey, Mary. This is Case and Casey. What do you got for us?
I wanted to talk about the encroachment of religion into the highest levels of government. The fact that in order for a candidate to be elected, questions about his or her religion are required by the press,
right.
And this never used to be.
Right. Yeah.
I've got the sound on.
No, it's okay. Mute your TV,
I remember
Mary.
that in the old days, all the way back to Kennedy, religion was never discussed. Faith. Well, Kennedy, the fact that he was Catholic was brought up, of course.
Right.
But, since then, religion has become more and more important as a topic when selecting a candidate for higher office. And the fact that Obama's religious affiliation with the church in Chicago was made such an issue, and in no other Western country is religion an issue for a candidate for high office.
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, we're totally on the same board with you here, and I think this is Case and I are both members of Seattle Atheists, and as a political activist, we're advocacy, I guess, separation of church and state. Actually, in the Constitution, it explicitly states that there will be no religious tests. Am I
That is correct. Yeah.
But obviously, our culture, our political culture, actually says that if you don't come out and express to have a belief, not necessarily a Christian belief, because there are obviously prominent Jewish politicians, but if you don't express a belief in a God of some sort, then you're suspect.
Right.
And obviously that's wrong. I know a lot of people have misconceptions about whether or not atheists are even morally fit to be able to make decisions.
Oh, I know, right. Well, but my point is, even just the fact that religion is an issue for a candidate for high office is something that isn't an issue in any other westernized country, and it's becoming more and more prevalent.
Right.
I mean, more and more of a hot topic.
I might quibble with your definition of westernized country. I think maybe you might see in Central and South America. I'm not sure. I'm not actually sure. But in America, for sure. In Canada,
Europe to Canada.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you can blame a lot of that in the 1970s when the moral majority entered into politics. When they started to interject faith into politics, that really skewed everything. That really made you had to be a certain way in order to be elected.
Right.
You saw that a lot with who was it? Anita Bryant in.
Well, it probably started with Reagan.
Well, no, it was before Reagan. It was actually the moral majority actually got their feet wet
Jimmy
in
Carter.
politics in the 1970s. But yeah, Ronald Reagan, he used a lot of religious imagery in his speeches, and he invoked God quite a bit. And
actually, we may have to blame it on Jimmy Carter too, because that was.
Yeah, well, Jimmy Falwell too, wasn't it? No, Stewart. Who was the one who the minister who keeps visiting presidents?
Well, Falwell did, of course, during Bush, but Billy Graham has always had since I know Reagan at least, that Billy Graham was kind of the default Christian spiritual advisor to the office of the president.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, we this is a concern for us, and the thing that baffles me is that it isn't a concern for other people, because I think an honest Christian, not just to talk about theists, let's just talk about American Christians, would say not everyone who's a Christian believes in the same thing. And Billy Graham, I think, represents a pretty moderated opinion for Christianity. He's certainly not a Reverend Jerry Falwell type.
No, yeah, that's true.
Pat Robertson.
Yeah, Pat Robertson. I think the one thing that concerns me is
they become more and more influential as far as politics.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, one thing that concerns me is that whenever a Democratic president gets elected, that a lot of Christians will make a lot of noise for that president being the Antichrist. Yeah. And I've gotten emails on the subject. I've gotten emails on the subject where people claim that they have biblical evidence for Barack Obama being the Antichrist.
Sure.
And that kills me. And so, anyway, I remember debating someone who asserted that Obama was the Antichrist, and he also had the same feelings about Bill Clinton.
Of course.
And I said, well, Bill Clinton is the Antichrist? He says, oh, yes, he's the Antichrist. I'm like, well, what is your definition of an Antichrist? And it waters it down.
Right.
You know, like if Hitler's an Antichrist.
No, the Antichrist is not unlike James Bond, where every 6 or 7 years it's played by a different actor.
Okay.
That's you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Bill Clinton, and we're not going to be too partisan here. When Bill Clinton is your definition of an Antichrist, it really waters down the definition of the word. It really does.
That's true.
You know, oral sex, you know, out of marriage. Can I say it on the show? You know.
I think you can say oral sex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We actually should come up with a list of things I can't say on the show. That way, you know. I'm going to be like your Joe Biden, by the way. Anyway, Mary, thank you very much for calling. I appreciate I appreciate your sentiments and.
Well, my concern is too that people are concerned that Islamic countries are ruled